Hello, my name is Sulina Powell. I am an LPN to BSN nursing student at Indiana State University. This presentation is for my community health nursing class in which I will be discussing ADHD in school-aged children. The key things this presentation will be discussing is understanding what ADHD is, what causes ADHD. There's actually 3 different types of ADHD, so we'll be discussing that. The typical signs that you would see in children that have ADHD, how it's diagnosed, ways to manage it, and also treatments that are available. And then I'll also be providing some resources. But before I continue, why don't we take a quick break and take a pretest? The link is located in the description below, so please hit pause on the video and test your knowledge. ADHD, also known as Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, is a neurodevelopmental disorder that is usually diagnosed in school-aged children. I say usually because ADHD also affects a lot of adults that were never diagnosed when they were young or had been misdiagnosed. It is one of the most common mental disorders diagnosed in children, and it can be very disruptive in someone's life if they don't know what they're dealing with and ways to manage it. These kids have problems concentrating, difficulty controlling their impulses, and in many cases also are hyperactive. I'm sure you're probably wondering what causes ADHD. Well, unfortunately, I cannot provide a definitive answer. However, scientists involved in research believe there could be many contributing factors. Scientists believe that there is a genetic component, and although this gene can be passed down to your children, it isn't just automatically activated, but instead, they believe that there are environmental factors that contribute to the activation of it. Some of these factors include, but are not limited to, exposure to toxins such as lead, even if it's in small amounts, brain injury, poor nutrition that have additives, chemicals, and hormones, illnesses like meningitis or encephalitis, maternal habits during pregnancy and whether mother was smoking, drinking, drugs, or simply if the mother had poor nutrition herself during pregnancy. There are 3 types of ADHD: inattentive, which is formerly known as ADD, hyperactive impulsive, and combined. In inattentive ADHD, there is lack of focus and lack of organization. The child is very scattered-brained and thus cannot follow conversations or instructions. They're very easily distracted and can also be very forgetful. In hyperactive impulsive ADHD, the child will be constantly fidgeting, moving around, talking a lot, and they have a really hard time keeping still when they're supposed to. Their impulsivity can tarnish friendships, as these kids are constantly interrupting others and grabbing things from people, or simply speaking inappropriate things or talking at inappropriate times. Combined ADHD is just as in its name. These kids will manifest traits from both inattentive and hyperactive impulsive ADHD. While there aren't actual imaging or lab work that can diagnose ADHD, there is still a way to find out. First and foremost, you'd have to ask yourself, has my child shown multiple symptoms in the last 6 months in various settings? And see how it's impacting their education, their friendships, and just their life in general. Families are encouraged to involve the school and the teachers so they can also fill out a form of how the child is behaving and doing at school. The parents each individually also have to fill out a form to discuss what they see and anyone else who might be very involved in the child's life that can also partake. Once all this data is collected and submitted to the medical professional, preferably a neuropsychologist, then this specialist will conduct a comprehensive evaluation that would determine if they indeed have ADHD or if there might be some other mental health problem present. Once diagnosed, the child can get a good individualized plan in place for school. This includes a 504 plan or an IEP plan, both which help to facilitate learning. To keep it simple, a 504 plan is mostly a plan put in place in the child's current classroom, but with certain accommodations. Now, if the child has greater needs and requires special education in a separate room, these are the kids that would qualify for an IEP. Nevertheless, either of these plans are very beneficial for a child who suffers from ADHD. As far as management and treatments go, management can be done by continuing the child in therapy to help them cope with what they are feeling and going through, altering the diet to include a more whole foods approach, an increase in protein, and also having the parents get involved as they should learn behavioral therapy that will help the child at home better. Behavioral therapy is usually always the first step. If a child is in need of more, then medications will be considered. Medications most commonly used are psychostimulants like Adderall or Ritalin, but there are also non-stimulants available, such as guanfacine or Strattera. Here are just some resources that are available to the parents of children with ADHD, or simply just, the adults with ADHD. CHAD, which is children and adults with ADHD. It is one of the largest national support organizations, and it provides a whole bunch of education, advocacy, and support for children and adults and their families that are living with ADHD, as well as teachers and healthcare professionals. NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Health, they also have a wonderful support group that you can attend in person. You can look it up by your location, or you can do a Zoom support group through the online video chat, which that's also available. Plus, it has a lot of education on there as well. The ADDA is the Attention Deficit Disorder Association. It creates another place for networking with others that are going through ADHD or have someone they love who has been diagnosed. It also provides great resources and information as well. Okay, so this does conclude my presentation on ADHD. I hope you found it very informative. I have created a post-test for you to take. So why don't you go ahead and click on the link in the descriptions to take that and see how you have improved from your pretest. I've also included the references that I used for this presentation. You can also go through those on those websites. They have so much more information on the website there that I didn't include in this presentation. It's very, very resourceful. But once again, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a blessed day.